Chapter 14. Inside. Jackson gripped the bat with his sweaty palms. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead. The salty residue that traveled down his face and onto his chocolate lips was hard to ignore. His thumping heartbeat multiplied as he watched the gold door handle jiggle from left to right. He lifted the bat a few inches higher. He did his best to hold it steady as his hands trembled and legs shook. Moira ducked behind the back of the sofa and buried her face into the sofa pillow. The door creaked open, and the intruder walked inside. Jackson raised the bat over his head and charged toward the individual. The unknown individual dropped their belongings on the floor and shielded their hands over their head, fearful of being bludgeoned. Jackson dropped the bat on the floor, placed one of his hands on the back of the sofa, and waited for his heartbeat to normalize. It was Rain. She stayed on the floor and caught her breath. Jackson walked over to her and offered his hand. After a few seconds and a hostile stare, Rain accepted her father's hand and stood up. "You almost killed me," Rain yelled. "I'm sorry. We thought you were an intruder," Jackson replied. Moira lifted her head when she heard Rain's voice. "Intruders don't have keys." Rain swung her house keys in the air and taunted her father. "What brings you here? It's not your weekend to have us," replied Rain. "Can't a father come check on his daughters?" "When Dr. Manning shows up, there is always a reason," Rain answered. A familiar and annoying car horn blared outside of their home. "Veronica is outside waiting on you, and she isn't happy." Jackson looked at his phone and realized that he had 6 missed calls. He grabbed his jacket off the chair and headed out the door, but not before placing a wet kiss on Rain and Moira's forehead. "I'll be right back. Rain, stay in the living room with your sister, please." Jackson exited the front door, careful to lock it behind him. Rain wiped the wet kiss off of her forehead and then slid her hand on her jeans. Rain's eyes shifted toward Moira. Her disposition changed from playful to concerned when she saw Moira's bandaged wrist and ankles. Rain sat next to her sister, took her hand, and caressed it. "What happened, Moira?" Rain asked, confused. Moira scooted toward her sister. "I really don't want to talk about it. Every time I tell someone, they don't believe me. Mom and Dad pretend to, but they're just trying to make me feel better," she replied. Rain gazed at her sister dead in her eyes and wiped the tears that flowed down her cheeks. "Moira, you can tell me anything," she stated. Moira took a deep breath before going into her story. "Do you remember the reflection ghost that used to frighten me as a child?" "How could anyone forget? Your screams woke up the entire house," Rain replied. Moira leaned in, close to Rain. "I see her when I look in the mirror. She's been trying to pull me through it." "Come again?" asked Rain. "You heard me correctly. She did this to me." Moira lifted her arms and unwrapped the bandages. "Moira, I think you should keep the bandages wrapped. They put them on for a reason." "Rain, you need to see this." Moira continued to unwrap the bandages, but when she showed her arms to her sister, her skin was perfect and whole. Moira stared at her arms in disbelief, unable to comprehend why she had no wounds. I don't understand. I had lacerations and cuts on my arms and legs. That's why Dad is here. I had a blood transfusion and everything." Moira removed the bandages from her legs and ankles to inspect her wounds, but they were perfect and whole. "Moira, it's okay. I believe you." "I think I'm going crazy," Moira replied. "Quit saying things like that. Hurry up and rewrap your legs and arms and don't mention this to anyone." "Shouldn't I tell Mom and Dad?" Moira asked. "Dad's a psychiatrist. He'll probably medicate you." Moira broke her gaze from Rain and stared at the floor. "Have they already medicated you?" "Since I was 8, Moira replied. Rain playfully hit Moira upside the head. "Ouch, that hurt," Moira whined. "You deserved it. You know we don't keep secrets. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't need you thinking I was crazy, too, Mora replied. Everybody has a little crazy in them. Trust me, you're not alone. Mora chuckled. Thanks for believing me, Mora replied. You do the same for me. Let's discuss this in more detail when Mom and Dad aren't around. Jackson walked out on the front porch and fired up a cigarette. It was a stressful day, and although he had quit smoking years ago, he needed to feel that smooth menthol flow through his lungs. It was one of the few things that provided him a feeling of peace. Veronica stepped out of her black Range Rover and leaned against the car with her arms crossed. She had a beautifully wrapped gift in her hand. Jackson walked toward Veronica and stood next to her. She placed the gift in his hand and resumed her original stance. Where's your yellow medallion? Jackson asked. You noticed? Veronica questioned. When you've been with someone off and on for 18 years, you notice when they aren't wearing something they've worn every day. Mora had such a rough day, Veronica said. With her birthday coming up in 3 days, I've decided to give her my medallion. She could use something special right now. You're right. She's had a rough time, Jackson said. But I don't forget birthdays, Veronica. I had her gift handcrafted, Jackson replied. What did you get her? Shh, it's a secret. I'm sure she'll call you once she gets your gift. You can ask her then. There was a long, awkward pause between them. Veronica turned toward Jackson. You should have told me Mora was seeing things. How did you find out? I can be very persuasive, Jackson. You of all people should know, she added. She reached her hand through the car window and grabbed a folder from the passenger seat. It was Mora's hospital records from today's encounter. Things like this need to be destroyed. It's damaging for your career and for our Mora. Could you imagine if someone from her school found out about this? The last thing we need is for Child Protective Services to take our daughter away from us. Jackson took the file, folded it, and placed it inside the back of his pants. How long has this been happening? She asked. She's not your daughter, Veronica. Marianne and I are handling it. She's as much my daughter as she is Marianne's, Veronica countered. No, you were the surrogate. Marianne is the birth mother. We have documentation to confirm this, remember? Is that all I am to you? A surrogate? She asked. That's not what I said. So, what are you saying, Jackson? Veronica asked. I'm saying I think we should take some time apart. So, you're abandoning me while I'm pregnant with your child? She asked. Jackson took a more serious tone. He lowered his voice and turned to face Veronica. I'll be there for my child, but Mora and Rain need me now. They need their father. You still love her? She's the mother of my children. I will always love Marianne. No, you're still in love with her. What kind of man chooses their ex over their fiancé? Veronica, my daughter needs me. Mora tried to harm herself, Jackson responded. Veronica ran toward the house to check on Mora, but Jackson grabbed her hand and pulled her back toward him. I need to talk to her to make sure she's okay. And this isn't the time. It's never the right time, she added. She snatched her arm away from him and pointed her finger in his face. 24 hours and the boil comes to a head, Veronica yelled. She slammed her fist on the hood of the Range Rover, jumped inside, and zoomed down the street. Jackson had never seen her that angry. Then again, he had never told her no. This wasn't an empty threat. He had to get in front of the situation. He took a few deep puffs of his cigarette, stomped out the light, and headed back in the house with Mora's gift in hand. When he walked through the door, Mora noticed the large, gift-wrapped boxes in his hand. Her eyes widened with excitement. Did you buy me a gift? She asked. After you scolded me about handing you cash, I got something more heartfelt. I hope you like it. Happy early birthday, Jackson responded. Maura snatched the package from Jackson. She shook it, excited about its contents. She removed the pretty bow. She always appreciated delicately wrapped gifts because she liked to preserve the packaging. Marianne was in the kitchen placing slices of pizza on paper plates while Jackson and Rain watched as Maura opened up her present. It was like a mini Christmas with the complete family there. It was comforting to see Maura smile. Maura opened the packaging, being sure to keep the colorful tissue paper intact. Inside the big box were 2 boxes, a small gold and crimson box and a black box. She opened the gold and crimson box first. Inside it was a yellow diamond amulet necklace. On the front of the gold-encased amulet was her name, Maura, and on the back in faded lettering it said, Karma. There was a note inside. It read,
To Maura. This has been in my family for years. My parents gave it to me, and now I am passing it on to you. I hope it brings you as much good as it has brought me. May it protect and guide you as it has me. Happy birthday, Veronica. Wow, Veronica gave me her necklace. It's beautiful,
Maura replied. Marianne went into the freezer, took out the ice tray, and slammed it on the counter. Jackson stared in her direction, and she cut him an evil stare.
Let me put it on you,
Rain suggested. Maura handed Rain the necklace. She turned around and allowed Rain to clasp it around her neck.
It's beautiful, Maura,
Rain replied.
Veronica always has the prettiest things. Let's invite her over so I can tell her thank you,
Maura suggested. It's kind of late. Let's talk to her in the morning. Why don't you open up my gift? Jackson suggested. Maura opened the black box. Inside was a purple jewelry box that had the words, Maura's Jewelry Box, in black lettering across the top. I was saving it to give to you on your birthday, but I thought now was the perfect time. The song it plays is the song my father used to play on the piano for me. Open it, Jackson encouraged. An excited Maura held it up for Marianne to see.
It's a jewelry box. I've always wanted one of these,
Maura replied. When Marianne saw the jewelry box, she came from behind the kitchen table and walked toward Maura.
Maura, don't open it,
she yelled. Marianne, it's just a jewelry box, interrupted Jackson. Marianne walked faster toward Maura.
Give me the jewelry box, Maura,
Marianne demanded.
Why are you trying to take this from me?
Maura asked as she held it close to her chest.
Mom, it's not that serious,
Rain demanded. Jackson grabbed Marianne to keep her from taking Maura's gift. Marianne snatched her arm from his grip and jumped toward Maura and grabbed the bottom of the jewelry box. Maura held onto the top while Marianne tightened her grip on the bottom half. They tussled with it until it broke. Marianne flew across the room with the bottom half, while Maura held the top half.
You broke it! I don't forgive you. I hate you and wish you were not my mother,
she yelled. Maura looked down at the top half of the jewelry box and screamed. Inside the top of the jewelry box was a mirror, and within it was the reflection girl. Maura tried to let go of the box, but her hands were glued to it. The reflection's liquid-like hands jolted out of the mirror and wrapped themselves around Maura's body. Her crystal-like yellow nails dug deep into her skin, and drops of her precious blood dripped to the floor along with Maura's purple glasses.
If you can't love me on the outside, maybe you can love me from within,
the reflection's voice bellowed. Maura's body became like fluid, and the reflection girl snatched her into the mirror. The top of the jewelry box fell to the ground, and the mirror broke into a plethora of pieces. Marianne screamed, Rain fainted, and Jackson stood there paralyzed with fear as Maura's cell phone vibrated on the kitchen counter. Want to know what happened to Maura? Continue the story by purchasing the next book in the series, Maura's Acceptance. This has been The Reflection, Book 1, written by Franklin Christopher, narrated by Drama Simpson. Copyright 2024. Production copyright 2024. Check out Franklin Christopher's psychological thriller, The Husband's Secret, and be sure to check out Part 2 to the Reflection series, The threshold